Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, we are back. We are back in action. I hope every single one of you had a very, very, very happy Easter. Welcome back to the Boys Crypto Show, baby. We are live. We are live. Bringing it to you hot tonight. Bringing it to you hot tonight. Wow, what a day we had in the crypto market. What a weekend. And finally, after what feels like forever, after about 3 weeks, almost a month of stagnant price action, Bitcoin's pushing to the upside on the bottom of that daily 200 SMA. We did get rejected from that level, sitting at about $88,200, and Bitcoin is trading just underneath that key line in the sand that is going to be pivotal for Bitcoin to return to its glory in the $100,000 region and beyond. We are not out of the water yet. We are still struggling to get over this key resistance zone at about 88.2. Above that, we still have key Fibonacci's we got to get above, and that high volume node sitting in about $96,000. So we got to get above the 200 MA sitting at about 88.2. We got rejected so far. We have that 786 sitting at about 90,500. And then that high volume node coming up here at about 96,000. We are not out of the woods yet. And this is Bitcoin, baby. Bitcoin going into the week as tariff news seems to be easing. Donald Trump coming out and saying on Twitter, baby, he said, we are having good conversations with other countries. And that's sparking a little bit of optimism here in the market to the upside. The Nasdaq, S&P, crypto, everything rallying to the upside. And I didn't take a peek at gold, but I would imagine gold is struggling a little bit here as well today. No, it is not. Ripping to the upside. Gold at almost $3,500 an ounce. That's surprising to me as we have market optimism today, and gold's rallying to an all-time high. That seems a little strange to me, but wow, gold just going on a monumental tear to to the upside, $3,425 and $3,425 an ounce, hitting all-time high. What seems every single stream we have is like gold all-time high, gold all-time high, gold all-time high. Man, we want to see that for Bitcoin here soon. Let's see if we can get that as we push here into the summer, and gold just going on a monumental rampage to the upside. Shout out to each and every single one of you guys in the chat. Michaela B, April, Sin Nasty Kid, what's going on, guys? I'm glad that you're here. Drop your questions, drop your alts in the chat, and we are gonna dive on into it today like we do every single stream that we have here, baby. Okay, so we're gonna start with Bitcoin, BTC, baby. Let's dive on into the smaller time frames and see if the charts are giving us any bit of clues. So right now, right off the bat, what I don't like seeing on this 1 hour time frame is this potential shoulder, head, right shoulder forming on the 1 hour. I do not want to see this dump to the downside, taking us all the way back to what looks like it'd be about 85,000 here, at about 85,000 down to about $85,170, gapping through this VRVP that we have formed here on the hourly. That does not look good. That's not what I want to see for Bitcoin. What I want to see for Bitcoin is just to push up above this daily 200 SMA. Now, we have been playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside for Bitcoin. We got above the 15, we got above the hour, we got above the 2 hour, and we got above the 3 hour, we got above the 4 hour. Where are we at right now? Looking to come to the 6 hour. We got to the 6 hour, retested it, and boom, to the upside to the 8 hour. And then we're likely to come to the 12 hour 200 SMA if we can hold this line. So far, a bearish engulfing candle forming on the 8 hour time frame. That's not what we want to see. When you see bearish engulfing candles, as we saw right here, you often get a little bit of a downtrend to the downside, and that's not what we want to see. Stochastics are a little overbought on the 8 hour. The higher time frames are saying there may be a little bit of a cool off or sideways consolidation after we had a monumental pump today. Today was a massive pump. We went from about 84,000 up to about 88.2, and since consolidating, and that has been a monumental move for Bitcoin. Monday, baby, Monday, low liquidity in the market, and Bitcoin seems to be doing okay. Bitcoin seems to be doing okay. The altcoins are struggling in comparison to Bitcoin. Let's take a peek at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance screaming to the upside. It looks like, and it's true, that weekly bearish divergence does not look like and has not played out. Isn't that crazy? Weekly bearish divergence. This was the divergence we were looking at here on the channel, and we were not able to hold this line. This was the swing up in price action, and saying that we are gonna crack this low here on Bitcoin dominance before we crack this high at about 64.4, and now we're sitting above that. And this wick has been broken. This wick has been broken. Very, very likely that Bitcoin dominance does reach up here to this 786 at least. And if Bitcoin dominance does break that 786, it is very, very likely we come up here and test these highs, sitting at about 70% Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance can go on a run here and leave a lot of the altcoins in the dust. And that's not what we want to see if you are an altcoin holder. Now, a little bit of hope, baby. A little bit of hope. Like we talk about every single stream here, we do have that inverted cup and handle. We have the cup and the handle. Inverted cup and handle looking to break to the downside. If this was flipped upside down, we would long this 10 days, 10 ways to Sunday. I think the phrase is, baby, 10 ways to Sunday. And yeah, that would look like a beautiful long opportunity coming down to that golden pocket 618, 786. But you flip that up to the way it is, right? Inverted, right? This is not an inverted cup and handle, bearish sign. When you have a normal cup and handle, bullish sign. So when this is looking at the chart as it is, this says that we are likely to break to the downside coming up into this golden pocket, though that weekly bearish divergence is saying no. Bitcoin dominance to the upside. Bitcoin dominance to the upside. So there are confusing indications in the charts right now, and Bitcoin just seems to be stealing the show as it rips to the upside, maybe even trying to play that catch-up game with gold, baby. It's crazy to see Bitcoin dominance doing this. We've been in this uptrend since the middle of May of 2022, and it's been about a 2-year ordeal to the, almost 3-year ordeal to the upside on the weekly for Bitcoin dominance. The stochastics are topped out here, sitting at about 98. The blue line is crossing the mark line here, and we can see that. So that is a little bit of hope momentum wise to the downside, but I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Bitcoin dominance looks to scream to the upside, at least for a couple more percentage points to test that 786 on the macro retrace on this bearish inverted cup and handle, baby. The inverted cup and handle. But that's what I'm seeing here for Bitcoin dominance. We have a giant gap here in the VRVP to the downside, looking very, very likely for Bitcoin dominance if we can get that turnaround. That's a big if. Bitcoin has shown massive, massive market dominance and momentum to the upside. When you're talking about dominance, a lot of the altcoins sitting beneath their bear market lows, and Bitcoin is just stealing the show. That is absolutely crazy to see, because historically a lot of the altcoins have just followed Bitcoin blindly, and as Bitcoin's sitting just about 20% off the highs, a lot of the altcoins are sitting 80-90% off the highs, and that's just something that we have not seen before. And today on Bubbles, you can see the disparity in the charts. We have red here, we have green there. I just saw Hex just in the last hour. Was it the last hour or so? The last hour, Pulse X, Pulse Chain, all pumped together all the time, and 10% pump to the upside. I don't know what just happened for Hex, but it likely got a big investor, a big long, something in there, and that went on a massive tear to the upside. Kind of skewing this a little bit, honestly. It's the biggest green bubbles, and that just happened not long ago. So that's what we're looking at for Hex, the biggest bubbles on the day. We do have stacks. Let's dive on into stacks. If you guys want to go over altcoins, drop them on in the chat. We're going to hit all the fun altcoins today, baby. All the fun altcoins. Let's dive on into stacks. The biggest winner of the day, stacks, baby, stacks. I just got back from a run. It was outside in the Texas heat, baby, and oh, it cooked me. It cooked me, baby. I was down at the park. I was doing some pull-ups when I got there, and the water was hot, man. It's like a metal water fountain. It was hot. I was drinking bath water. It was hot out there, baby. I was sweating from my eyes. Crazy. All right, stacks getting a move here on the daily after those three white soldiers pattern to the upside. You have one candle, you have another that is bigger than the prior candle, and another, and you even had another green candle here. That's kind of crazy. And you got a big push to the upside. That's three white soldiers right there, and you got that move, and trading above the high volume node, coming up to test likely this high. And to me, it looks, just based off of a glance, that you cracked through this local. No, you didn't get through that 786 yet. That's going to be a key area for this candle to close. The next 2 hours are going to be vitally important for a lot of your altcoins, for even Bitcoin, as this daily candle and 4-hour candle are coming to a close in the next 1 hour and 49 minutes. Very important to keep track of that on the charts as we go into the night. We want to see how this daily candle closes and see what kind of momentum we're going to get going on into the week as the Asian markets take over in about 4 hours here, So that's what I'm looking at for stacks. Looks very good. Very interesting to me that this coin is popping up kind of out of nowhere, and even on a macro retrace level, you could say, oh, there was a little bit of a double bottom here, but man, this was not looking like one of the hotter coins in the chart, and the bull stepped in today and got a nice pump to the upside. The weekly looking really good. This will be the third candle green close on the weekly for stacks. Usually when that happens, you do get a big massive pump to the upside. So we'll see how this coin goes on. Goes throughout the week. I'm not really sure. I don't know what this project is. I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I have no idea what this is. This just creeped in to the top. No, this has been in the top 100. I'll do a little research on what this project is and what the basis is behind it. But yeah, if there's a team, if there's something good happening, if they got a big investor, a partnership, something like that, but it is mooning to the upside, while a lot of the other cryptos are just trading sideways or even down. So the biggest loser on the day looks like DEX or XCN. Those have been trading places over the past few hours. Let's look at DEX, DEXC, baby. Ticker DE DEXE, biggest loser on the day. So don't get frightened whenever you see like the biggest loser on the day for your coin. If your coin is the biggest loser on the day, it's potentially because it had a monumental day yesterday or the day before, and just as such, we do have here DEXE, baby, DEX. You did have a monumental move to the upside from down here at about 11.6 at 33% move, and you're just getting a little bit of a retracement right now. Nothing to worry about, nothing to worry about. You likely came up to a 786 or an 886 fib here from the low. You came up to that 786 and got rejected here on the daily. So what am I looking here for, DEX? Well, you did get this nice little pump out of that daily bullish divergence. You had that swing down in price action. Well, you had the swing up on the RSI indicator. And, you know, honestly, a lot of the altcoins were showing daily bullish divergence. A lot of them were, and it was crazy. It was like daily bullish div, daily bullish div. And some got the reaction, others didn't, and they fell through to the downside. And that put a lot of fear in the altcoin market. It put a lot of fear in my mind when it came to the altcoins, because whenever you invalidate one of those, whenever you invalidate a bullish or a bearish divergence on the macro time frames, it can lead to cascades to the upside or to the downside respectively. And you have this daily bullish divergence. You got the reaction so far. It is holding very, very nicely. You want to get just a little bit more of a push here for DEX. Why? You have this giant gap here in the VRVP, baby. The giant gap in the VRVP, the ball down the hill scenario, looks very, very likely for DEX if you get just a little bit more of a push to crack through this low volume shelf, to the upside. That looks very, very likely to me, and I think that could happen for DEX if Bitcoin does hold its ground and potentially move further to the upside throughout the night. If the Asian market can propel us further, that would be very, very nice. Let's see what this week holds for BTC and the altcoins, everybody, and the altcoins. So what do we got coming up this week? Let's dive on into that. We have the U.S. economic calendar pulled up, and we had diddly squat go on today. Absolutely nothing. You know, U.S. leading economic indicators. I mean, that's just a slew of economic indicators compounded together for economists to look at. Really doesn't move the market too much, in my opinion, or as I've seen it in the past. You have a couple presidents of individual Feds speaking, but it's not the Fed chairman Jerome Powell, which is the one we're going to be looking at. We do have PMI coming out, S&P Flash, US PMI, manufacturing PMI, new home sales. Wednesday could be a little bit of a bumpy ride when it comes to news that comes out about 9:45. So we'll see if that that's going to impact more specific stocks more than it does the overall broader market. And new home sales is going to give us a glimpse of the real estate market as it sits, where the interest rates are right now, and if people are going out and looking to sell their homes, or if people are looking to buy homes. That does give a broader glimpse of what the overall economy is looking at. And as always, we have the Thursday initial jobless claims coming out. We can see how many people have filed for jobless claims, and that's likely to move the market as well. Existing home sales, nothing burger. So not a lot of big news events this week, so that's a good sign. That's more of a favorable trading environment for you guys who like to use leverage, for myself who likes to use leverage here in the market, because I'm not going to get absolutely blindsided by something that a news event that happens at 9:30 or 10 o'clock that's completely skewed from the estimates here that sit in this middle column or the forecast. So that looks really, really good. On the other side of that, I still don't think this is a very favorable trading environment. Why? Because every single day the U.S. President Donald Trump is speaking and talking about these tariffs on his Twitter, on his X account, and on his Truth Social account, and that's something that really it could swing the market either way very, very quickly and very, very violently. And to me, that's not a very good, and of course you could do this at any time, but amongst the trade war and all the uncertainty in the world right now, it is very, very tough for me to get behind a leverage play and say, yeah, I'm ready to go in. I don't expect any blindside events to come out. It just seems like the environment that we're in, and even these candles for Bitcoin, kind of wild, kind of crazy here in the over the past couple of weeks, leading on into the end end of April here. You know, there's a saying in the stock market is sell in May and stay away. And we'll see if people kind of dive on into that mentality. Why? Because summer's approaching. People start purchasing vacations, start selling stocks in order to fund those projects. The kids are out of school. People need money for sporting events, things like that. It's just a saying that's been in the stock market for, you know, forever, for as long as I've lived anyway. And you know, it doesn't come to fruition. You know, it has in the past, not all the time, but, you know, I think more often than not, May has not historically been a great month for the stock market. So just something to keep in mind as people are likely going to start pulling out a little bit of funds to pay for those kind of things. But with that being said, we've already had a major correction. This is something that you don't often see for the crypto markets and the stock market, a major correction leading up into May. And, you know, with the trade war going on right now, if those get resolved, then the market will likely pump massively on optimism like we saw today. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Michaela B, April, Sin Nasty Kid. What's going on, guys? What's going on? I'm super glad that each and every single one of you are here with me, spending your time with me. Let's pull on up the chat, baby. Let's pull on up the chat. Super hyped up to be here with you guys today. Super hyped up to be here with you guys today. Super awesome to be here with you on this Monday, baby, on this Monday. So that's what I'm looking at as we go on into the week. Chat's updated. So looking here, we do have the fear and greed index as well, sitting at about 34. You know, you're still in the fear, but you missed a lot of the extreme greed opportunity or extreme fear opportunities that you had to get on into the market and into your favorable projects when they were at their lows, Bitcoin even right now struggling a little bit on the 5-minute time frame, making that shoulder ahead right shoulder come to fruition. That is not what we want to see here for Bitcoin as we go into the night. I'm going to be tracking that very, very carefully on my X account. Follow me at Boys Crypto 102, baby, 102. If you guys have not followed me already, jump on in, join the family, and see my trade ideas, setups. Haven't been a lot lately, have hardly been any lately. Why? Because the trading environment is not very favorable to me, and I've been sitting on spot bags. Kind of waiting to see what kind of opportunities that the market presents to me so that I can take high probability setups to the upside, baby, to the upside or to the downside. We start losing some of these higher time frame 200 MAs, then we could likely look for short scenarios. But buyers have stepped in here. Let's take a little glance at the stock market today. The stock market, the NASDAQ futures, curling over at the end of the day. Not looking super awesome there for the NASDAQ, especially on the higher time frames. We started closing candles beneath the daily 200 SMA. We back tested it as resistance. So this is a key example of a support, resistance flip. This red line was support and now is resistance until proven otherwise. We've had 3 days in a row of constant selling for the NASDAQ, and this is likely what's leading gold to rally to the upside. Zooming in on the 1 hour at the very end of the trading day, you did get a little bit of a pumperoonie, baby. You did get a little bit of a pumperoonie on futures. So let's see if this could be the turnaround. Did we come to a key Fibonacci level? It looks like we may have. From swing low to swing high, we did bounce off that golden pocket, the 618786 golden pocket Fibonacci, baby. That is a key zone that price likes to retrace to. And what I'm seeing here is a little bit of a cup, baby, a little bit of a cup and a handle. This is something that you want to see in markets for a turnaround to the upside. With that being said, you're going to need to get some substantial momentum from Asia in order to counteract this selling that's been on that 1 hour time frame throughout the course of the day. You did get a little bit of buy pressure here. And, you know, Monday is oftentimes you could get what's called a false move Monday. False move to the downside and you rip the rest of the week. Could that happen? Absolutely. Bitcoin had an inverse effect. It was kind of strange today how Bitcoin traded against the stock market. That is super awesome to see. for Bitcoin is that's what it was designed to do. That's what it was designed to do. Bitcoin wasn't meant to be correlated with the stock market. It was meant to trade against it during mass economic downturn. And right now, when we're at heightened uncertainty, it would make sense to me anyway that Bitcoin and gold would be relatively correlated in price action. But the markets are saying gold is dominating, baby. Gold is screaming to the upside. The NASDAQ, the S&P looking as well like it wants to. It's just a copy paste, same deal, cup handle, looking like it wants to move to the upside here. But it's all up to Asia, the Asia trading session. Let's see what they give us going on into the night. Let's dive on into gold. Let's look at gold making all-time high after all-time high after all-time high. Gold screaming. Look at this. You know, you don't see this for gold. Look at this chart. Does this not look like a 2017 Bitcoin screaming to the upside? Isn't it crazy that just, you know, where were we at a year ago, you know, for gold? You were sitting at about $2,200. In the past year, gold has provided a 50% return on your investment, a 50% return. And there's not many stocks there aren't stocks. I don't think there's anything in the S&P 500 and the NQ that could say that they've beaten gold. They haven't. Bitcoin hasn't beaten gold in that time frame. You know, it's pretty wild to see. You know, Bitcoin may have actually matched gold on that time frame because we was trading at about 60 grand prior to the Donald Trump election. But yeah, this has been absolutely cataclysmic to the upside for gold. And just like, boys, crypto, where are we going? Where are we going for gold? Let's dive on to gold on the monthly. Look at this monthly candle. There's not a lot that you could do for gold as far as price targets, besides pulling your Fibonacci extensions. How do you do that? You can pull your retracement or your trend-based Fib extension from the swing high to the swing low, and you're coming up to your 2.618 and breaking it here for gold. I said this before on the channel. You don't ever, it's very rare, very, very rarely that you crack these levels, right? The 1.618 and the 2.618 like butter like this. This looks likely to me, and I'll say this right now, this looks likely to me, if this trade war continues, if the tariff uncertainty continues, it looks like gold could make a run towards 5K, towards 5 grand. That's the 4.236. And it can happen very, very quickly for gold. Look at this parabola to the upside. There is nothing stopping gold, nothing but constant buy pressure. You are overbought here on the RSI, and you've been overbought for the last 6 months, showing no signs of slowing down. The 21 curving up very, very violently to the upside. That is a wild month for gold. This month for gold, the candle currently up 10% since the beginning of April. Gold looking like it wants to go on a moonshot. For the gold bears, I don't know who you are out there, but men, zoom on out. When in doubt, zoom out. If you're a bear on this chart right here, good luck to you, my friend. Good luck to you. This is an asset that just does not want to stop to the upside. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I'm flabbergasted by how gold just continually makes all-time high after all-time high. The stochastics, despite being closed and overbought, despite the RSI being overbought, the RSI still pointing to the upside, saying that the bulls are still in control. You know, people are hoarding this asset. The 4-hour chart, look at this, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4-hour time. The last 36 hours has been nothing but buy pressure for gold. Gold to the upside. I think gold's going to make a run at that $4,000 to $5,000 level. I would not be surprised to see gold hit that $5,000 mark by the middle of next year. And honestly, with the run that's been going on in the past couple of weeks, it's 16% in the past, 21 days. This is a parabola. These can get very, very violent to the upside. You start getting that curvature support line, and you could start touching this support line and go on massive rocket shots to the upside. With that being said, all good things come to an end, and all good things come to an end. It's just a reality, right? right? When you make a parabolic support line and you crack that, that is going to lead to some massive volatility, highly likely for gold, likely up here when you had that parabola right here. Parabola screaming to the upside. You broke that parabola and then you went into some trouble. So that's something I'm going to be watching very, very carefully for gold. But gold does not look like it wants to stop here to the upside. Of 3 white soldiers here as well to continue. Gold looks like the most unstoppable asset in the overall broader world economy right now. Nobody could get enough of gold right now. Nobody could get enough hands on it. And honestly, pulling market share from everybody. Isn't it crazy? What's gold's market cap right now? You got to take a look, baby. Got to take a look. It's over 18 trillion, $23 trillion for gold to the upside. I think this is the most valuable asset on the in the world right now. Yeah, I think it is. Gold at the top. Gold being 10 times the size of Apple, if you could believe it or not. Silver coming in not too far behind at $32 an ounce. Silver, the only 3 companies that are outperforming silver, gold, as far from a market cap perspective, are Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia, all outperforming silver, nothing touching gold. Look at this, all the red in the charts, and gold screaming up screaming up to the upside. Gold, Bitcoin, baby. Isn't that crazy? You don't see a single for these precious metals and things. Nobody owns it. So USA. So this is something that nobody owns. It's cool. Bitcoin working its way up to the 8th most valuable asset in the world. Amazon up next on the for the target for Bitcoin, baby, for Bitcoin. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I am looking at for gold. Does not want to stop screaming to the upside. All right, everybody. All right. So we went over the U.S. economic calendar. We went over the hottest assets in the game from Bitcoin, silver, gold. Let's take a quick peek at silver here. Silver ain't gold, it's silver. That's the ticker. That's the ticker, baby. That is the ticker. Silver futures. Oh, I don't think I have that. Silver, baby. Silver. So, silver is, you know, when I look at silver, it's tough for me to zoom out on this chart. Why? Because back in 1980, silver was trading at about $49 an ounce, and that was $49 back in 1980 when, you know, my grandfather talked about being able to fill the grocery cart for 20 bucks. You can't do that anymore. I can still see the bottom of my grocery cart when I have $300 racked up. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, silver has yet to break an all-time high from back here in the 80s. Bitcoin cracks this high, and you can see FOMO for silver like you've never ever seen before. I wouldn't be surprised to see silver mining stocks ripping to the upside out of the gigantic multi-decade cup and handle here for silver, mooning to the upside, looking very, very likely. And you even have another cup and handle here. You came down to where? Probably a 618, 786. You did, coming down in that golden pocket, getting that reversal to the upside. Silver moving, baby. Silver is moving on the weekly, consolidating, looking very likely for that next major move to the upside. If gold goes and keeps ripping to the upside, or gold even starts consolidating, this may be an asset where people start to look to hoard their money during times of mass economic uncertainty. So this is what I'd be looking at. Looks like an ascending triangle forming here for silver. You have multiple touch points already. This is just a speculating idea. You have 3 touches on the bottom. You don't have that here on the top yet. You can even bring this down. You could say, boys, crypto, we do have 3 touches. I wouldn't say so. So yeah, you do have a little bit of an ascending triangle here forming for silver on the daily. Watch that very, very closely, as the move will take you up very, very likely to where that over that $40 range, that $42 for silver. If you're looking to load up on silver, may not be a bad opportunity. I always have some silver here on my desk. I have some more in my safe. I have gold in my safe, baby. It's very, very light. It's very, very nice to be able to hold on to an asset. You can't hold on to a stock. You can't hold on to, can't even hold on to your Bitcoin besides on a ledger, baby. besides on a ledger, the Elliptical Titan 2.0. That's what I use. If you guys don't have a wallet, I highly recommend that one. The Ledger Nano S is good. I used to use that. What I did find that was the screen would start to die on those a little bit, and that's not something that I feel very confident with whenever you're, storing your money on anything. And you can get it online and you can get another one and things like that. But it kind of gave me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies whenever I started seeing my screen dim. Yeah, so the Elliptical Titan 2.0 has been there for me, baby, and it is very, very simple and easy to use. So that's what I'm looking at. If you guys want to go over some coins, drop them on in the chat, baby. Drop them on in the chat. But that's what I'm looking like. Not a lot of people here on this Monday. Only got a couple people in the chat and watching today, everybody. Hey, I appreciate those that are here. So something I want to bring up on the charts right now, Sui. How do I word this? Sui, I think does a lot of things better, cheaper, and faster than both Solana and Ethereum. A lot of the supply has not been released yet. Only about 36% of it's released, I believe. I do want to just speculate here for a second. Yeah, about 32% is released. There's a vesting and an unlock schedule for Sui. I acknowledge that. Sitting at about a $7 billion market cap, I think this thing could do some serious damage. Why? This thing's faster, cheaper, and more reliably than Ethereum. It can handle more on-chain data. And right now, as I'm zooming out on the daily, you're getting a little bit of what I see as a rounded bottom. Rounded bottoms are very, very good when you're looking at for reversals. And you're coming up to a high volume node here, sitting at about 225. Shout out to anybody who can bench 225, baby. Only about 2% of men out there can bench 225. I did read that the other day. It's pretty interesting. All right, but yeah, that high volume node at about 225 is going to be your line in the sand. Coming up to that 4-hour 200 SMA, struggling. If Sui can get that push through this 4-hour 200 SMA and reclaim this high volume node at about 225, you could see Sui make an absolutely monumental run to the upside. This could be a massive 20 to 30% mover out of the bottom here for Sui, something I'm going to be tracking very, very carefully. And even here as we speak, I see this kind of shoulder, head, right shoulder, shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverted to the upside. Looks very, very good here for Sui. Let's see if we could get this. This was likely a micro baby, a micro 786 retrace. Zooming on in here, and look at that. It was a beautiful golden pocket retrace to the upside. Sui looking very, very strong, and I think this asset can massively hammer down on the crypto market and eat a lot of the market share here going on into the future. If you want to see how it's eating up on market share, you could type in Sui.dominance, XRP.dominance, anything dominance you want. And on the daily, looking just like its normal chart, coming back here to about 0.27%. That's wild. The weekly looking very, very good. You're coming back down to a key Fibonacci retracement, I'll bet, down to that 786 here. Looks very, very good here for Sui for a reversal to the upside, not just in the chart, but on the market cap dominance as well. That could lead to a rocket shot for Sui, baby, for Sui. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here with me. It is a quiet night in the chat. I went over every single thing that I wanted to go over with each and every single one of you guys today. I appreciate you guys bouncing on in here with me tonight on your precious Monday. I will be back at it with you guys tomorrow night on the live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock Central. Thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here. Smash that like button before you guys head on out today. Much love, and thank you for watching the Boys Crypto channel. That is my market update of the day, baby. I will see you guys tomorrow on the live. Until then, Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out. Much love, everybody. Have a great night.